Hi everyone, welcome to Style3D channel. In this video, you'll discover how to import clothing exported from Style3D Studio into Unreal Engine using the simulator plugin for animation production. So let's get started. In this first lesson, let's talk about before importing the model files from Style3D Studio into the Unreal Engine. What preparation needs to be made? We have recorded a segment of animation since we will be creating animations. After importing into the Unreal Engine, it's essential to fine-tune the dynamic properties of the clothing in the studio. The goal is to optimize the clothing's dynamic attributes in Studio to minimize the need for adjustments after importing into the Unreal Engine. We can proceed by deleting the animation first. Later, we will make adjustments to the clothing, removing the parts that are not visible on the surface. This step aims to optimize performance, preventing unnecessary collisions due to excessive components or layers. Next, we need to remove the interfacing added to the areas. Start by eliminating the interfacing effect. Because after importing the clothing into Unreal Engine, the bond effect may not be recognized. If necessary, we can set the bond or straighten effects after importing into Unreal Engine. Next, as we can see at the front opening, it is currently closed with buttons. After importing into Unreal Engine, we plan to add a dynamic dance segment for the model. There is a risk of buttons being pulled open during the dance, so we need to reinforce the front opening. Let's stitch it instead, ensuring stability for any movements. Next, we will change the avatar to an A pose, because we will later import it into Mixamo to bind the skeleton. The A pose provides clearer stability, and the arms won't be too close, making it easier for positioning. Additionally, there are some details to consider because we will be dancing later on. We need to be cautious about the stability of various parts of the clothing to prevent any issues when jumping, especially at the back of the collar. We need to proactively take preventive measures. Use short segments of thread to sew the back of the collar, paying attention to proper alignments during the stitching process. We can navigate to the 2D viewport to locate the position, and then fine-tune it using the editing sewing tool. After sewing, we'll notice a seam here with a sewing line. We can go to the right side property edit window to remove the normal of the sewing line. This way on the surface, there won't be a conspicuous line. It seems like the stitching is a bit tight now. We can move the thread slightly upward. Okay. This makes the simulation look more natural. Now, as we can see, the particle distance from the entire garment is set to 15. The total vertex count for the entire garment is currently over 30,000. We need to ensure that the vertex count for a set of clothing is below 50,000. This is necessary to maintain stability when importing into Unreal Engine. The final step before exporting is arranging the UVs. For a set of clothing with both top and bottom parts, in fact, if you choose not to export the upper and lower garments separately, you can also place all UV in the same quadrant. This is something everyone can decide based on their preferences. Restore the UV to their 2D position for easy selection. Then set the UV move step to 1 and arrange the UVs to the 0/1 and 0/2 quadrants. Well, all the pre-export tasks have been completed. Let's double check to ensure that nothing has been overlooked. Oh wait, we need to move the model to the center of the entire ground. This ensures that when imported into post-production software, the position is less likely to cause issues. Next, let's export the model in OBJ format. As it will be used for binding the skeleton in Mixamo. Give the file a suitable name, and be cautious when naming the files for export to other software. Avoid using special symbols as much as possible. Typically, we only use uppercase and lowercase English letters along with underscores for naming. Check only avatar, select millimeters as the unit, and set the scale to 10%. It's crucial to ensure that it is set at 10% to maintain compatibility when imported into other software. Next, choose the XYZ axis with the Y axis facing up and save along with the texture files into a zip. Alright, the OBJ export is complete. Next, let's export an FBX file. We use FBX for later texturing in Maya, as the FBX format is compatible with Maya. We will still only check avatar, and then thick. It's crucial to pay extra attention to the unit settings. Here we select centimeters and set the scale to 10%. Note that it is crucial to set this to centimeters, otherwise it won't be compatible when imported into Maya. For the axis, choose XYZ, with the Y-axis facing up. When saving the files, select the second option to save texture images relative file path. Save the texture images together with the FBX file to facilitate easy retrieval and use. Lastly, we need to save a garment file, which is the SMD file. File, export as SMD, and then name it, and click Save. You can choose 4096 or 2048 based on your preferences. This number represents the texture resolution, so 4K or 2K, the higher the number, the clearer the texture. Click OK. Alright, our SMD file has also been saved now. With that, the first step in Studio is complete. Feel free to continue watching the next lesson, and we'll cover binding the skeleton with Mixamo.